My daughter poisoned my tea at breakfast. I watched her do it. She stood at the counter with her back to me, stirring something into my cup, and she thought I didn't see. But I saw everything. And when she brought that cup to the table with a smile on her face and said, "Here's your tea, Mom," I smiled back and said, "Thank you, sweetheart." Then I waited until she looked away, and I switched our cups. She's in the hospital now. Has been for 3 days. The doctors say she'll survive, but it was close. Very close. They pumped her stomach, ran toxicology tests, found rat poison in her system. A lot of it. And the police want to talk to me. They want to know how my daughter ended up poisoned in my kitchen. They want to know if I saw anything suspicious, if I know anything that could help their investigation. Oh, I know everything. I saw everything, and I'm going to tell them. But first, I need to tell you how I got here, how a mother ends up watching her own daughter try to kill her, how I knew to switch those cups, how I'd been watching my daughter plan my murder for weeks. Because this didn't start at breakfast 3 days ago. This started 6 months ago when my daughter moved back home and I was stupid enough to think she needed my help. I am 72 years old. I've been a widow for 8 years since my husband Frank died from cancer. We had 2 children, my son David, who lives in Seattle with his family, and my daughter Nicole, who's 38 and has always been complicated. That's the word everyone uses. Complicated, like it explains everything, like it excuses everything. Nicole was a beautiful baby, a difficult child, a troubled teenager, an unstable adult. She's been married twice, both times ending badly. She's had a dozen different jobs, none lasting more than a year. She's borrowed money from me more times than I can count, always with promises to pay it back that never materialized. But she's my daughter, and when she called me 6 months ago crying, saying her boyfriend had kicked her out and she had nowhere to go, what was I supposed to do? I said yes. Of course I said yes. She could move back home, temporarily, just until she got back on her feet. That was my first mistake. Nicole moved in on a Tuesday in late September. She showed up with 3 suitcases and a story about how her boyfriend Eric had been emotionally abusive, how she'd finally found the courage to leave, how she just needed a safe place to heal and rebuild. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She's my daughter. I set her up in her old bedroom, helped her unpack, made her favorite dinner, chicken parmesan, the way she loved it as a kid. We sat at the kitchen table and talked for hours. She cried. I comforted her. It felt like maybe we were finally connecting, like maybe this crisis would bring us closer. That first week was nice, almost normal. Nicole would get up in the morning, make coffee for both of us, ask about my plans for the day. She'd do dishes without being asked. She'd sit with me in the evenings and watch TV. I started to think that maybe this time would be different. Maybe she'd finally matured. Maybe living with her mother again would be good for both of us. But by the second week, things started to change. She'd sleep until noon, leave dishes in the sink, spend hours on her phone, always stepping outside for private calls. When I'd ask about her job search, she'd get defensive. "I'm working on it, Mom. Stop nagging." Then she started asking about money. Small amounts at first, Mom, can I borrow $20 for gas? Mom, I need $40 for a prescription. Always with explanations, always with promises to pay me back once she got a job. I gave it to her, every time, because I'm her mother and she needed help. But then the amounts got bigger. Mom, I need $300 for a security deposit on an apartment. Mom, I need $500 to fix my car. I started saying no, not because I didn't want to help, but because I'm on a fixed income, Social Security, and Frank's small pension. I have enough to live on comfortably, but I don't have unlimited funds. Nicole didn't take it well. You have this whole house to yourself, she'd say. You have Dad's life insurance money sitting in the bank, but you can't help your own daughter? I already gave you $2,000, I'd remind her. That's a lot of money, Nicole. And I'll pay you back, she'd snap. God, Mom, you act like I'm trying to steal from you. But that's exactly what it felt like. Not helping, stealing, because there were no job applications, no apartment searches, no plans to move out, just Nicole living in my house rent-free, asking for money, getting angry when I said no. 3 months in, I started to notice other things, small things that didn't quite add up. My medication would be in a different spot than where I'd left it. My purse would be slightly open when I was sure I'd closed it. My mail would be on the counter instead of the table where it always landed. Someone was going through my things. I told myself I was being paranoid, imagining things. Nicole wouldn't do that. She's my daughter. But then I checked my bank statements. I keep them in a file folder in my desk drawer. When I opened it, the papers were out of order. And when I looked at the most recent statement, I saw withdrawals I didn't remember making. Small ones, $50 here, $75 there. ATM withdrawals from machines I'd never used. Someone had my debit card information, and the only person with access to my purse was Nicole. That night, I changed my PIN, ordered a new card, and I started watching my daughter more carefully. That's when I realized Nicole wasn't just using me for a place to stay. She was planning something bigger. It started with Nicole's phone calls. She'd always been secretive about them, but now she was having them multiple times a day. Always outside, always in hushed tones. And when she came back inside, she'd be agitated, distracted. One afternoon, I was in the garden when I heard her on the side of the house. She didn't know I was there. She thought I was inside, napping. I can't wait that long, she was saying into her phone. Her voice was sharp, angry. We need the money now, not in 6 months, not next year, now. There was a pause as she listened to whoever was on the other end. She's not going to just give it to me, Nicole continued. I've already asked. She said no. We're going to have to take it. Take it, not borrow it. Take it. My heart was pounding. Who was she talking to? Take what? The house is worth at least $400,000, plus whatever she has in savings, the life insurance from Dad. It's all mine when she's gone anyway. We're just speeding up the timeline. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Speeding up the timeline? She was talking about my death, about inheriting from me, about speeding it up. I know it's risky, Nicole said, but I found something online. It looks like a heart attack, completely natural. She's 72, she has high blood pressure, no one will question it. I couldn't move. couldn't breathe. My daughter was on the phone with someone, planning my murder, planning to make it look like a heart attack, planning to inherit my house and my money. "I'll handle it," Nicole said. "You just need to be patient. Give me 2 weeks, maybe 3. Then we'll have everything we need." She hung up. I stayed frozen behind the garden bushes until I heard her go back inside. Then I sat down right there on the ground, shaking. My daughter wanted me dead. Not just dead, she was actively planning it, researching it, discussing it with someone else. A boyfriend? A partner? Someone who wanted my money as much as she did. I should have called the police right then, should have told someone. But who would believe me? I had no proof, just an overheard conversation. She could say I misunderstood, that I was confused, that I was an elderly woman imagining things. And part of me still didn't want to believe it was real. But I started being more careful. I locked my bedroom door at night. I started taking my medications with me instead of leaving them in the bathroom. I paid attention to everything Nicole did. And I started documenting. I bought a small notebook and kept it hidden in my nightstand. Every suspicious thing Nicole did, I wrote it down. Every odd conversation, every strange behavior, every time she asked about my finances. 2 days after the garden phone call, Nicole asked about my will. "Mom, do you have everything set up, like legally? Your will, your power of attorney, all that stuff?" We were having lunch. She asked it casually, like she was just concerned about my affairs being in order. "Why do you ask?" I said, keeping my voice neutral. "Just thinking about it," Nicole said with a shrug. "You're getting older. It's important to have these things organized. I'd hate for there to be confusion later." Later, when I was dead. "Everything's taken care of," I told her. "My lawyer has all the documents." "That's good," Nicole said. "And I'm the beneficiary, right, since David lives so far away?" "You're both beneficiaries," I said. "Everything's split between you and your brother." I watched her face, saw the flash of disappointment, the calculation in her eyes. "That makes sense," she said, but her tone said otherwise. She wanted everything. Not half, everything, and she was willing to kill me to get it. Over the next week, I caught Nicole searching my office. She said she was looking for stamps. I didn't have any stamps in my desk drawer, and we both knew it. I found her in my bedroom, going through my jewelry box. She said she was admiring Mom's old brooch, thinking about memories, but she'd never cared about that brooch before. And then I saw her computer screen. She'd left it open in the living room while she went to the bathroom. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. She was on a forum, one of those dark corners of the internet where people ask questions they shouldn't ask, and Nicole had posted, "What's the best way to make something look like natural causes? Elderly person, has high blood pressure already, needs to look like heart attack or stroke, can't look suspicious." There were responses, dozens of them, people suggesting methods, dosages, timing, ways to avoid detection. I took a picture of the screen with my phone. Finally, proof. Finally, something I could show someone. But who? The police would say she was just researching, that she hadn't actually done anything. My son David would think I was being paranoid. Nicole would deny everything and probably accuse me of invading her privacy. Needed more. I needed to catch her in the act, needed undeniable proof that she was actually trying to harm me. So I started being even more vigilant. I never ate or drank anything Nicole prepared without watching her make it. I checked my medications every day, counting pills. I installed a small camera in the kitchen, hidden in a decorative plant on top of the refrigerator. Nicole never noticed it. And I waited. 3 days later, Nicole went to the store. She said she was buying groceries. She was gone for 2 hours. When she came back, I noticed she didn't bring in very many bags, just one small one that she took straight to her room. That night, I checked the camera footage from earlier in the day. There was a segment while Nicole was out where she'd come home briefly. She must have left something and come back. And in that footage, I saw her in the kitchen opening my vitamin bottles, dumping pills out, replacing them with something else. She was poisoning my medications, slowly, gradually, trying to make me sick, trying to trigger that heart attack she'd researched. I didn't take any of my vitamins after that. I threw them all away when Nicole wasn't looking and bought new ones that I kept locked in my room. But I kept the contaminated bottles, evidence, and I kept watching the camera footage. Nicole got bolder, started asking me if I was feeling okay, if I was having any chest pains, any shortness of breath. She was waiting for her poison to work, waiting for me to die. And when it didn't happen fast enough, she decided to speed things up. The morning it happened started like any other morning. I woke up at 6:30, like I always do, got dressed, came downstairs to make breakfast. Nicole was already in the kitchen. That was unusual. She usually slept until 10 or 11. But there she was, making coffee, looking bright-eyed and cheerful. "Morning, Mom," she said with a smile. "I thought I'd make us a nice breakfast, scrambled eggs and toast, and I'll make your tea just how you like it." Warning bells went off in my head. Nicole never made breakfast, never offered to make my tea. This was it. This was the moment I'd been dreading, expecting. "That's sweet of you, honey," I said, sitting down at the table, where I could watch her, where I could see everything she did. She scrambled the eggs, made the toast, and then she made the tea. 2 cups, one for each of us. I watched her back as she stood at the counter, watched her reach for something, a small container from her pocket, tap something into one of the cups, stir it carefully, then turn around with both cups in her hands. "Here's your tea, Mom," she said, setting a cup in front of me. The cup she doctored, just how you like it. "Thank you, sweetheart," I said. She sat down across from me with her own cup, started eating her eggs, chatting about the weather, about her plans to go out later. Normal conversation, like she wasn't sitting there waiting for me to drink poison. I picked up my cup, pretended to blow on it to cool it down. Nicole watched me. Her eyes were too bright, too focused. "Aren't you going to drink your tea?" I asked her. "It'll get cold." "I will," she said. "It's too hot right now." She was lying. Her cup wasn't too hot. She just didn't want to drink from it first. Didn't want to do anything that might make me suspicious. But I was already suspicious. I'd been suspicious for weeks. "I need to get something from the kitchen," Nicole said suddenly, standing up. "More butter for my toast." She walked to the counter, her back to me, and in that moment, I switched the cups. It took 2 seconds. My cup for hers, hers for mine. The poison tea now in front of her seat, the safe tea now in front of mine. I took a sip of what was now my tea, the safe one. Nicole came back with the butter, sat down, didn't notice the switch. "This is nice," she said, taking a bite of toast. "Having breakfast together, like when I was a kid." "It is nice," I agreed, watching her, waiting. She picked up her cup, the poisoned one, raised it to her lips. "To family," she said with a smile, and she drank. For the first 5 minutes, nothing happened. We finished breakfast. Nicole drank most of her tea. I drank mine. We talked about nothing important. Then Nicole's face changed. "Mom," she said, her voice suddenly strained, "I don't feel good." "What's wrong?" I asked, keeping my voice concerned, motherly, even though my heart was pounding. "I don't know. My stomach." She put her hand on her abdomen. "It hurts, really hurts." She stood up quickly, knocking her chair back. "I think I'm going to be sick." She ran to the bathroom. I heard her vomiting, violently, over and over. I sat at the table and called 911. "My daughter is very sick," I told the operator. "She's vomiting. She can't stop. We were eating breakfast and she just collapsed. Please send an ambulance." The paramedics arrived within 10 minutes. By then, Nicole was on the bathroom floor, barely conscious. Her lips had a bluish tint. Her breathing was shallow. They rushed her to the hospital. I rode in the ambulance with her, holding her hand, playing the worried mother. Because I was worried, not that she'd die, though that was possible, but that I'd made a terrible mistake, that maybe I'd misunderstood, that maybe she hadn't actually poisoned the tea. But then I remembered the computer searches, the tampered medications, the phone conversation in the garden, the way she'd watched me, waiting for me to drink. No, I hadn't misunderstood. At the hospital, they pumped her stomach, ran tests. A doctor came out to talk to me after the first hour. "Mrs. Chen, your daughter has been poisoned. We found high levels of rat poison in her system. Do you have any idea how this could have happened?" Rat poison. So that's what it was, what she'd put in my tea. "Rat poison?" I repeated, letting my voice shake, letting tears come. "How? We don't even have rats. How could she be poisoned?" "We don't know yet," the doctor said. "We've notified the police. They'll want to talk to both of you. But right now, we're focused on treating her. She's very sick, but we think she'll survive." The police arrived an hour later. 2 detectives, a man and a woman. They asked to speak with me in a private room. "Mrs. Chen, I'm Detective Rodriguez, and this is Detective Park," the man said. "We need to ask you some questions about what happened this morning." "Of course," I said. "Anything to help Nicole." "Walk us through the morning," Detective Park said. "Everything that happened before your daughter got sick." So I did. I told them Nicole had made breakfast, had made tea for both of us, how we'd eaten together, how she'd suddenly gotten sick. "Did you eat and drink the same things?" Rodriguez asked. "Yes," I said, The same breakfast, the same tea. But you're not sick, Park observed. No, I agreed. I'm not. They exchanged a look. Mrs. Chen, Rodriguez said carefully, how is your relationship with your daughter? And here it was, the moment of truth. I took a deep breath, then I pulled out my phone. My relationship with my daughter, I said slowly, has been complicated, especially in the last 6 months since she moved back home. I showed them the photo of Nicole's computer screen, the forum post about making murder look like natural causes. Their faces changed immediately. When did you take this? Park asked. 2 weeks ago, I said. I found her researching methods to kill someone and make it look like a heart attack. And you didn't report this? Rodriguez asked. I didn't think you'd believe me, I admitted. She's my daughter. I had no proof she was actually planning to hurt me, just internet searches. People research all kinds of things. What else? Park asked. She was taking notes now, quickly. I told them everything. The phone conversation in the garden, the suspicious behavior, the money she'd been taking, the contaminated vitamins. I have security camera footage, I said, of Nicole tampering with my medication, replacing pills with something else. I saved the bottles. I think if you test them, you'll find they're contaminated. Rodriguez was looking at me with a new expression, not sympathy anymore, something closer to respect. Mrs. Chen, he said, did you know your daughter was going to poison your tea this morning? Here it was, the real question. I suspected it, I answered honestly. She'd been escalating, getting impatient. This morning, when she offered to make breakfast and tea, I knew something was wrong. She never does that. So you watched her make the tea? Park asked. Yes. And you saw her put something in one of the cups? Yes. And then what happened? I met their eyes. I switched the cups. When she went to get butter from the counter, I switched them. The poison tea ended up in front of her seat instead of mine. There was a long silence. You switched the cups, Rodriguez repeated carefully, knowing one was poisoned. Yes. So you deliberately let your daughter drink poison, Park said. She was trying to murder me, I said, and my voice was steady. She researched it, planned it, executed it. The only thing that went wrong from her perspective is that I figured it out and protected myself. By letting her poison herself, Rodriguez said. By not dying, I corrected. She made the choice to put poison in that tea. She made the choice to try to kill her own mother. All I did was make sure it wasn't me who ended up dead. Park leaned back in her chair. This is complicated. I know, I said. That's why I'm telling you everything. I have evidence of her planning to kill me. I have footage of her tampering with my medications. I have documentation of her suspicious behavior. I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm trying to make sure you understand that I was defending myself. By switching cups, instead of calling the police, instead of refusing to drink the tea? If I'd refused, she would have tried again. If I'd called the police with just my suspicions, she would have talked her way out of it. She's very good at that, very convincing. I needed proof, undeniable proof, and now you have it. The proof being that she's in a hospital bed, poisoned with the same substance she tried to use on you, Park said. Yes, I agreed. That's exactly the proof. They looked at each other again, some silent communication passing between them. Mrs. Chen, we're going to need all of that evidence. The videos, the photos, the contaminated medication, everything. And you'll need a lawyer, because this isn't as clear-cut as you might think. I understand. Am I under arrest? Not yet, but don't leave town. They let me see Nicole that evening. She was awake, weak, but awake. An officer was stationed outside her door. When I walked in, she looked at me, and in her eyes I saw something I'd never seen before. Fear. She was afraid of me. "Mom," she whispered. Her voice was hoarse from vomiting. "Hello, Nicole," I said. I didn't sit down, didn't move closer, just stood there at the foot of her bed. "You switched the cups," she said. Not a question, a statement. "Yes." "You knew?" "Yes." Tears started running down her face. "How long?" "Weeks," I said. "Since I heard you on the phone in the garden, since I saw your computer searches, since I caught you tampering with my medications." She closed her eyes. "I'm sorry." "No, you're not," I said gently. "You're sorry you failed, sorry you got caught, sorry you're the one in a hospital bed instead of me, but you're not sorry you tried." She opened her eyes again. "It was Eric's idea, my boyfriend. He said you were old anyway, that you'd die soon and leave me everything, that we were just speeding things up, that the money should be mine." "So it's his fault?" I asked. "You're 38 years old, Nicole. You made your own choices." "I needed the money," she said desperately. "We're in debt. Eric's business failed. We were going to lose everything. And you're just sitting on all that money, living in that big house by yourself. It seemed wasteful." "So you decided to kill me for it?" "I didn't want to kill you," she insisted. I needed the inheritance. I needed it now." "Well, now you're not getting it," I said. "I've already changed my will. Everything goes to your brother. You get nothing." Her face twisted. "You can't do that." "I already did," I said. "Yesterday, before I suspected you'd make your move today, just in case." The fear in her eyes turned to rage. "That's not fair! I'm your daughter!" "You tried to murder me," I said, and my voice was ice. "You researched methods. You poisoned my vitamins. You put rat poison in my tea. Fair doesn't enter into this anymore." "What's going to happen to me?" Nicole asked, and now her voice was small, scared. "That depends," I said. "The police have all my evidence, the videos of you tampering with my medication, the photos of your research, my testimony that I saw you poison the tea. They'll probably charge you with attempted murder." "But I'm your daughter," she said again, like that should matter, like that should change anything. "I stopped being your daughter when you decided my money was worth more than my life," I said. I walked to the door, stopped, turned back. "For what it's worth," I said, "I wish things had been different. I wish you'd been the daughter I thought you were. But you weren't, and I can't pretend anymore."